Hi, everyone. Let me introduce you today to Daniel Lewis, who's a lawyer in Austin, Texas. He's the former world number one, currently ranked number two contestant in Bryan Johnson's Rejuvenation Olympics. He's ranked above notables such as Bryan Johnson and Dave Pascoe in terms of his epigenetic age. His average epigenetic pace of aging is 0.617. And his current results suggest that his body is aging less than 7.5 months every calendar year. Today, we're going to go over his evidence-based protocol, and he'll give you more details about what he does to achieve such a slow age of pacing. So a little bit more about his background. Maybe I'll let Daniel introduce himself if there's anything he wants to add.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on, Lucas. It's good to be here. It kind of came as a shock to me to score so high on the leaderboard. I'd spent the past maybe 10, 12 years reading about longevity science and general health and wellness. And I'd been living a very healthy lifestyle before I underwent the Dunedin pace of aging test. And then when I got my results back, I saw I got a result of 0.6. That was my first result. And I thought, oh, wow, that seems pretty good. It's at the low end of the range of results that this test returns. And then I heard about the Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard, and I went on there and I saw that it was lower than any of the other results that were on there at the moment. And so I thought, okay, wow, that's a surprise, because up until that point, I'd really only focused on the fundamentals of diet, exercise, lifestyle, sleep, stress reduction, general healthy living. So then I did, I wanted to implement a supplementation protocol to see if I could actually improve on those results and also improve on other testing that I plan to do to measure my pace of aging and my different measures of biological age. And so I began that supplementation protocol at around the age of 34. And then during the next year, I tested 2 more times. And so once I got those 3 test results, I was qualified to rank on the Rejuvenation Olympics. And then I held the number 1 spot for 1 month, I think, or a bit more than a month, until I was dethroned by someone else. So I'm now at number 2. But while I'm on here, I'll be happy to talk about the lifestyle fundamentals that got me that initial 0.6 score, and then the supplementation protocol I implemented over the next year that improved my other measures of aging besides the Dunedin pace score.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, we treat it as a competition because it's been made into a competition, the Rejuvenation Olympics, but obviously we're competing against ourselves, right? We're trying to improve ourselves, improve our health every day. So it really doesn't matter where you rank, but it's really impressive how highly you've ranked out of all the contestants so far. So kudos to you, and looking forward to learning more about how you've done it. So before we start, I just wanted to get a bit of an idea of what longevity means to you, because longevity has a different meaning to everybody else, to every individual. Some people want to live beyond the current limit of 120 so years. Some people want to maximize their health and the health span. So what does longevity mean to you? What is it about longevity that interests you, and why are you interested in this field?
So for me, longevity means 2 main things. One is, of course, having a above average lifespan. And then the other is to be as healthy as possible for as much of that lifespan as possible. I think my ideal would be to hit some very large number, something above 100, but nothing crazy, 100 to 120, let's say, and then to be very healthy and fit so that I can actually enjoy everything life has to offer for almost all that period of time, and then have really compressed morbidity at the end of my life, and then peace out fast at the end.
Yeah, I think that sings attuned to many people. I think most people would like to have that kind of life. That's fantastic. So let's get into your protocol. And the way I like to do this or structure it is, maybe if you can give us a general idea of what your average day looks like in terms of your diet, your exercise. We'll get into your supplementation as well. And, we'll finish off with your sleep routine and then we'll touch on a few other interventions that you might be doing that are important, or at least have been important to you.
Sounds good. So I guess we'll start from when I wake up. I wake up after having usually 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And sometimes I start the day by sipping on some coffee while I stand in front of a red light panel, although I'm not super regular about that. And then I skip breakfast. I go to work. In the morning, I drink my coffee black to avoid getting out of my fasted state. And I remain fasted until lunchtime, which is usually I start eating sometime between 11:30 to 12:30. I aim to get a 18, either 18:6 or 16:8 fasting breakdown. So compressing my eating time up to within a 6 to 8 hour window per day. And let's see, since I'm talking about lunch, I guess we should touch on diet. So I aim to eat a Mediterranean diet where I get most of my animal products that I consume are seafood or chicken, with occasional red meat or pork, although I'd say probably about 90% of the meat that I eat is seafood or chicken. Lots of vegetables, lots of fresh vegetables, some fermented vegetables as well. I consume lots of olive oil with my food, extra virgin olive oil. I like to put vinegar and olive oil on my salads. No pre-made salad dressings. I just mix the vinegar and oil myself. I find that a really convenient and an easy way to consume good seafood and get lots of omega-3s is to eat canned sardines. And there's all sorts of great canned sardines offerings out there right now so I think sardines are expanding in popularity. They can be a little funky for some people. Some people don't like the taste, but I really like them.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, after lunch, continue working, and then I'll usually work out before I eat dinner because I find that working out on a full stomach really impacts my performance. So as soon as work's done, I go work out, and that will consist of a mix of zone 2 cardio, zone 5 cardio, and full body weightlifting. So for zone 2 cardio, I just power walk on the treadmill, and then you can adjust the incline and the speed to try and keep your heart rate in the zone 2 range. And then for zone 5 cardio, I just run as fast as I can on the treadmill. And then for the weightlifting, it's full body compound barbell movements. So looking at squats, overhead press, bent over barbell rows, deadlift, pull-ups, dips. And I try to hit the whole body in one workout. So I'll do one upper body pulling exercise, one upper body pushing exercise, and then one leg exercise. And I aim to get 3 sets per exercise. And so on days that I do weightlifting, I only do zone 2 cardio. The zone 5 cardio, I find it just wipes me out too much. So I don't ever pair that with the weightlifting. And I try to work out at least 4 days a week. And I find also that working out improves my sleep. So there's really a synergy there between the exercise and the sleep. So then after I've exercised, then I have dinner. And I touched on diet already. I'd say, another tip with diet is that, and this is mainly applicable to lunch, is that if I'm really busy that day and I don't think I'm going to have enough time to prepare a good meal, I'll consume a shake that's called Huel. It's a pre-made whole foods plant-based meal replacement shake that hits all the macros and micros that I think you need. And I find that really convenient. But that I usually only rely on that as a fallback or as a supplement to my meal if I feel like I'm still hungry. So looking at a typical meal, there'll be some sort of some sort of animal protein, either seafood or chicken, and then one main carb source, which is going to be some sort of low glycemic index carb, brown rice or quinoa or some sort of bean. I like lentils a lot. And then a salad, and then some other vegetable. Could be a fermented vegetable or it could be cooked vegetables. So it all comes out to be a pretty well-balanced meal. For my testing, I haven't had any nutritional deficiencies. I'm getting all the nutrients I need. When in doubt, I just look at what people ancestrally in the Mediterranean region have eaten, since that region has, specifically Southern Europe, has some of the highest average life expectancy in the world. So that's kind of my roadmap. Then after dinner, it's good to eat dinner as far away from going to bed as possible. I do notice I sleep better if there's a bit of a gap there between when I ate and when I go to bed. And then before bed, I try to have a wind down period of an hour where I don't use my brain too much. I either read fiction or I watch something on TV that's relaxing. And then lately I've been watching TV using the blue light blocking glasses, and I find that makes a good difference. And then I avoid using my phone at least 30 minutes before bed, and for sure use the phone with some sort of blue light blocking app on your phone or with the blue light blocking glasses. And then for sleep, I sleep with the room on the colder side. I like 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the bedroom. And before bed, I sometimes take 3 grams of glycine or a microdose of melatonin, maybe just like 0.5 milligram of melatonin as a sleep aid, or sometimes a gram of tryptophan. And I find that either one of those 3 does make a difference with my sleep quality. And that's an entire day. I think I've touched on diet, exercise, sleep.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's a great rundown. If you don't mind, I'll ask you some we'll get into the weeds, some specific details about maybe we'll start with your diet.
Sure.
So you mentioned you do a caloric restriction around 10%. Do you still follow that?
Oh, yes. So I'm not super strict on how I measure that, but I do aim to try and get about 10% caloric restriction.
Okay.
And so I find I can hit that pretty easily just by keeping my portion sizes moderate.
Okay. So just portion control and no weighing of food or anything like that.
Yeah, I just kind of eyeball it.
Yeah, perfect. And then in terms of your macros, have you ever assessed your macros, how much protein, carbs, and fats you generally get in a day? Or do you aim for a certain amount of protein, grams of protein per day?
So for protein, I try to get anywhere from at least 0.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day.
Okay.
And then in the past, when I've been trying to put on more muscle, I've gone as high as a gram of protein per pound of body. Sorry, did I say per pound of body fat? A gram of protein per pound per day. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to know. And
So
then
70.
sorry.
That's like as high as 170 grams of protein per day if I was doing a bulk, but I'm not doing a bulk right now.
Okay, so you go through cycles during the year. Sometimes where you're trying to put on more muscle, I'm guessing, and then you're changing your macros.
Yes, that's correct. Although for the past year, I haven't been doing any bulking. So I've been pretty stable at 0.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. But in the past, I would go as high as a gram of protein per pound of body weight. I've hit my muscle goals. So I think I'm just going to stay stable now going forward.
Okay. And then I also wanted to hit in terms of diet, the testing that you do. Do you do regular, say, blood work testing to make sure you're getting enough nutrients? Any other type of mineral testing to make sure you have enough, obviously, nutrient?
Yeah.
Function?
So I regularly do the SciFox home blood test, which measures all the standard labs, measures different measures of cholesterol, inflammation, vitamin D, all the standard physical lab measures. And then I have occasionally done an organic acids test and a nutrition, like a hair nutrition test.
Okay. And
I haven't done,
go
oh,
ahead.
but I haven't done the hair nutrition test or the organic acids test lately, but the SciFox I do periodically throughout the year.
Do you mind sharing in terms of, say, your blood work, anything that you're working on in particular, in terms of cholesterol levels maybe, or anything else that you're working on to improve, or are you happy with the results?
Sure. So my results lately have been very excellent, but I am doing a little experiment right now. So for the past few months, I've been taking cyanidin 3 glucoside, which is one of the main antioxidants that's found in blueberries, but I'm taking it in a concentrated form. And I'm doing it as an experiment to see if it can increase my HDL cholesterol and lower my LDL cholesterol, because there's some research that anthocyanins, which are the antioxidant family that cyanidin 3 glucoside belongs to, there's some research showing that those antioxidants can act as like a natural CETP inhibitor. So that would cause the body to preferentially create HDL cholesterol at the expense of LDL cholesterol. So we'll see when I test again what my cholesterol results look like, if there's been any noticeable changes there. But they were already pretty good as of my baseline test. So
Okay, but you're just trying to increase your HDL even more and lower your LDL as much as possible. Is that your current approach?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not looking to crush my LDL numbers, just to keep it well within the optimal range.
Okay. Right, because there's a big train of thought by a lot of prominent lipidologists to decrease your LDL as low as possible. Right, the claim being that your LDL level should be as low as when you were born as a baby. Right, that's the ideal range if you want to decrease your risk for atherosclerotic disease. Right. But there's different thoughts about that, but I was just curious which side you
Yeah, I'm not. I don't feel really strongly about that issue. I think as long as I'm within the optimal range, I'll be content with that, and I can adapt going forward if I start to notice any sort of new research coming out, or if someday in the future, if I do a measure of arterial calcification, if that comes back less than ideal, then we can revisit the cholesterol topic.
And then the other testing you mentioned in terms of diet, can you tell us about your results there in terms of minerals and toxins?
Oh, yeah. So the hair mineral analysis, that one, when I first did it, it showed that my I think I was low on. We're talking some years ago now, before I really had a good health protocol, but it showed that I was low on selenium and a couple of other things, and then I just tweaked my diet, started taking some targeted supplements, and corrected those. And honestly, I didn't really notice too much, but when I've done that test again since then, everything's come back in range, and my diet is much more optimal now than it was back when I initially did that first hair mineral analysis test. So I think I'm doing well in that area right now. But I would encourage people that currently aren't eating an optimal diet to do the test and see if they're deficient in any area, and then try to compensate for that, and then retest and see if they can stabilize those values, and then maintain them going forward just with a well-balanced natural diet.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that's the key. Testing, find deficiencies, using a diet, not supplementation ideally, to bring it back to optimal range, and supplement if you need to. Okay, so next, you touched upon your exercise routine. What testing do you do? Do you assess your VO2 max, for instance? Do you assess your strength periodically? Make sure you're getting either stronger or make sure you're maintaining your strength.
So I do carefully track the amount I'm able to lift per workout. I just write it down in my phone. and then occasionally put those values into a spreadsheet. I don't track my VO2 max, but True Diagnostic does have an epigenetic proxy for VO2 max, which we can talk about a bit later. So I am indirectly tracking it through that.
Mm-hmm.
For my cardio, to measure my cardio progress, I just look at heart rate and see how my heart rate responds to the same workout over time. And I do have a Fitbit. Um, I'm not. I could be more sophisticated when it comes to measuring my exercise performance, but so far, just the spreadsheet and the Fitbit have been adequate for me.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to overcomplicate things, right? And you
Yeah.
said you do zone 5 once a week, or do you do it, I guess, twice a week out of your 4 workouts, or how often
Once a week. Yeah.
a week? Okay, and
Yeah.
then the other
So I
times it's
did.
zone 2 and weightlifting.
Yeah.
And then what about flexibility, mobility, stability training? Do you do any of that regularly?
I just do a little bit of warm up stretching. I've actually been meaning to get more into flexibility training. It's an area I could definitely improve in. But as of now, just some basic warm up stretching is all I do.
Okay,
I have been
fantastic.
getting more deep tissue massages in the past couple of months. I find that if you can get a really good, talented deep tissue masseuse who knows anatomy and can go very hard, you can get some really good muscle release. I've definitely been feeling more limber, and I think my range of motion on squats has improved. So I guess um, you could say that I'm getting some more flexibility, but not through my own efforts, but just by having someone stretch me out instead.
Yeah, working on those, I guess, weak points on your
Hmm.
body. Great. So let's move on to maybe your supplementation. I think this is something key that you touched on at the beginning of the call, and you attribute a lot of your lowered biological age to your supplementation protocol. So could you mentioned, I guess, on your Instagram that you use, I think, 5 different supplements or so, or 5 categories at least. So could you touch on those and maybe briefly why you use these supplements in
Sure.
particular?
So this is my phase 1 protocol, which I took for a year, starting mm, in 2023, like in the summer of 2023, and then going until the summer of 2024. And since summer of 2024, I've been on phase 2, but I haven't released phase 2 yet. So all my results that I published are for phase 1. So I'm going to focus on phase 1. So phase 1 was 5 supplements, and those were spermidine, alpha ketoglutarate, um, EGCG, um, vitamin C, and a blend of NAD precursors that was NMN and NR. And all 5 of these supplements I took in liposomal form, and I chose liposomal form to enhance absorption, and then it so happened that the company that I purchased these supplements from also has a very stringent quality control process that they publish. They publish testing for each batch. And so a little caveat that I want to say with any supplementation protocols that you really need to research the company you're buying your supplements from,
Right.
because it's a very poorly regulated industry. And so you're basically at the mercy of the supplement company to conduct testing and quality control out of their own goodwill, basically. So
Mhm.
choose the company carefully. But those 5 supplements, I chose them based on research showing that they can help maintain the body's epigenetic integrity and reduce DNA damage. And then in the case of the NAD precursors, they can also, there's research showing they can slow telomere shortening. So those 5 supplements, I believe there's some synergy there between some of them.
Mhm.
But I consider them all to be fairly safe. Part of the reason I chose them is because um, they can either be found naturally in food, although in small quantities, or they've been consumed by humans for a very long period of time. So, or they exist naturally in the body. My goal was to take things that could complement the body's existing processes and not throw a wrench in any biological process. And then I wanted this protocol also to be like a more safe and less intimidating for people, such as people in my family who might want to follow along with me, but are new to the whole longevity and anti-aging space. So alpha-ketoglutarate and spermidine are found naturally in the body. EGCG is found in green tea, and green tea has been consumed for thousands of years, so it's generally recognized as safe. Vitamin C is consumed through food. And then NAD precursors can be found in trace amounts in food and then are also found naturally in the body as well.
Right.
So by taking these 5 supplements every day for a year, I was able to get some significant improvements to certain measures of aging. Interestingly, my Dunedin pace, which is a test that's ranked on the Rejuvenation Olympics leaderboard, I stayed flat there. I like to brag and say it's because my score was already so low. There wasn't much lower I could go. But
could be some truth to that.
yeah. But the other tests where I got some significant improvements from my supplementation protocol were the omic age and symphony age epigenetic tests, which are also both included in the True Diagnostic, True Age Complete testing suite. My symphony age at baseline was 26 versus a calendar age of 34. And then after a year, my symphony age was 20 compared to a calendar age of 35. And symphony age is a epigenetic measure of organ function, and it looks at 11 different organ systems, such as the brain, the blood, the kidneys, the liver, the metabolic system. I forget what the other 11 are, but it's quite comprehensive. It was developed by some genetics researchers at Yale, and it's one of the most recently released epigenetic tests. And then the next epigenetic test that I improved on was the omic age, which was developed by researchers at Harvard. And the omic age is a whole body epigenetic age estimate. And what makes it differ from some other existing or pre-existing whole body epigenetic age estimates is that it looked at CpG island methylation that correlated with changes to metabolic and proteomic health over time. So rather than just saying, unlike pre-existing whole body epigenetic age tests that just said what CpG methylation sites correlate with chronological age, this one tried to find CpG island methylation that correlated with actual quantifiable changes in health with age. So presumably this should make it more accurate than pre-existing tests, and I think the current research shows that it might be. It was more predictive of mortality and disease than many pre-existing clocks. But anyway, on that test, on the omic age test, I went from a baseline of, let's see here. This one, I went from a baseline of about 30, baseline of 32 to almost 30. Or no, sorry, 32.5 to almost 30. So about a 2-year reduction in 1 year. This one, just from what I've read online, it seems like it's harder to get reductions in omic age compared to some other genetic tests, such as symphony age. So I was happy with that 2-year reduction. We'll see where I can go from there. My telomere length, or the epigenetic proxy of telomere length that True Diagnostic offers, went from 26 at baseline to 18. And then my immune cell composition, so this is also released by True Diagnostic. It shows you looking at all the immune cells in your blood and telling you what percent belong to different categories. And on this one, my immune cell profile became much younger and healthier. I got a significant increase in naive T cells, which suggests that my thymus is healthier and is producing more T cells. The thymus being a small gland near the neck that plays an important role in producing T cells and in the overall health of the immune system. And then my measures of inflammation, both from blood and epigenetic proxies of inflammation, declined significantly. My cellular division rate, this is a true diagnostic measure, that declined as well. So my cells are having to divide less often. And then my metabolomic age, which was a test I did with a company called Iolo, which calculates an estimate of your age from looking at 600 different chemicals in your blood. This measure reduced by over 3 years. So my baseline metabolomic age was 34, and then it reduced down to 31. So, and then my standard lab values all improved or stayed the same. I mentioned earlier that my blood inflammation levels declined. That came from the Cyfox test. Also on the Cyfox test, my LDL cholesterol declined. HDL cholesterol stayed the same, so my HDL to LDL ratio improved. Total cholesterol declined. ApoB declined. Testosterone increased, and DHEA increased. So I was able to log benefits from the epigenetic level to the metabolomic level to the end result of the labs that you would see in your doctor's office. So overall, I was very happy with my results.
A lot of positive changes. Just to close the circle, can you go back to that VO2 max you're talking about through True Diagnostic epigenetic?
Oh, yeah.
Just to close that circle.
So my let's see here. My estimate of VO2 max. So True Diagnostic publishes an epigenetic estimate of your VO2 max. And that one, actually, I did not improve there. I stayed about flat there. But I think...
But is this something you're trying to work towards? You do that, you run that, you said a mile or 6-minute mile you try to run? You try to increase the incline or however you do it? Do you try to improve that?
So kind of on purpose, I tried to keep my exercise protocol about the same and not make much progress there during that year because I wanted to make sure that any benefits that I saw in my testing could be reasonably attributed to my supplementation protocol. So that might explain then why my estimate of VO2 max didn't improve. Okay. It just stayed about the same.
That would make sense. Okay, so you mentioned various tests there, from metabolomic to epigenetic age, clock, and even blood work. So is your main biological age determinant based on the True Diagnostic suite of tests, or do you also factor in like pheno age using your Cyfox values that you receive from your blood work, and also your IO metabolomic testing? Do you look at all of them, or do you focus on one for biological age? Or
I would say, so I look at all of them for sure. I value all of them. Most of the test results I get do come from True Diagnostic, just by virtue of the fact that they publish so many different tests in their testing suite. It's just so convenient. You send in a little bit of blood and then you get a dozen different test results from them. But I do think it's important to look at no single measure. So I think epigenetic testing has a lot of value, but you should also look at metabolomics and then also the standard lab blood values, because if you see a discrepancy between them, if you're epigenetic age is going down, but for some reason your metabolomic age is going up, I think that could be a signal that there's something wrong with your protocol, or maybe just a health condition you need to get checked out. So I think you want to see ideally all those values going down in unison. And if my theory is correct, and if the way the science is going is correct, I think if you see improvements in epigenetic age, I suspect you'll typically see improvements in age and pheno age, because if you look at just the way changes mechanistically move through a cell, you have changes in epigenetic status, which result in changes in gene expression, which would ripple through to how proteins are made in the cell, which proteins are being made, and then the different profiles of the proteins that have been made by the cell will then change the cell's metabolomics, change the metabolites that are produced by the cell, and then those proteins and metabolites then circulate throughout the body. So it just seems logical that changes at the epigenetic level would ripple through to changes at the metabolomic and general health level. And I guess the way I view aging is the sum of all those changes across the entire body.
I think that's the best approach. I think you're spot on. And while there's some truth to that, I don't think it always correlates 1-to-1. There's examples out there where people, have changes in their pheno age based on their blood biomarkers, but then they don't see a correlational change on the epigenetic side. So, but you're right. It makes sense in one way, but these tests aren't perfect yet, and they don't necessarily correlate 1-to-1.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that as well. I've seen online people commenting that their pheno age improved, but their epigenetic age didn't improve. I think maybe as epigenetic testing becomes more sophisticated, we might see those two match up more closely, because an interesting point that I read about recently is that earlier epigenetic tests were just looking at methylation changes that correlated with chronological age. But within those methylation changes, there could be changes that are actually beneficial, that are a result of the body trying to compensate for the aging process. And the Gladyshev lab at Harvard, which actually is the same lab that made the omic age tests that I talked about earlier, they recently created a new epigenetic clock that they called, it's like two clocks. One's called damage age and one is called adapt age. And they actually have tried to separate these epigenetic changes that correlate with chronological age into those that appear to be drivers of the aging process versus those that are compensatory changes that could actually help slow down the aging process. So it could be that if someone took a first generation epigenetic test and it told them that they were older by 1 year, but then their pheno age improved, maybe those epigenetic changes that were being picked up by that first generation test, maybe more of it was compensatory. Maybe if they'd taken the new adapt age test, they would have seen, my body made some compensatory epigenetic changes that actually improved my health. So it's a really complicated field. I think a lot of progress has been made in just the past 3 years, but
I think you're spot on, and it depends. Every clock is different, and it will assess different, obviously, epigenetic sites, which will correlate with different factors, whether it's morbidity, mortality, lifespan, or disease state. So I think it's an evolving field, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get to having one pan clock that meets all the criteria that we're looking for. But I think there's some benefits to many clocks that are out there in terms of epigenetic clocks.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I try to diversify across many different measures. I would really like to get a proteomic test done, see if the composition of the proteins circulating in my blood matches my chronological age, or is that of a younger, hopefully younger person. But there's a company that is going to commercialize that test, but it hasn't launched yet. So I'm eagerly waiting that launch so I can add that test to my suite.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big missing factors in the field. Right, we're testing on an epigenetic level, we're testing metabolites, but in the end, proteins are what we want to know: the levels of proteins, their functions, their modifications. So I think when that test comes to light, that will be a big value
Yeah.
for sure. I want to touch on a couple other things. So, in terms of stress relief, do you practice anything in terms of meditation, breathing techniques, anything like that? Stress is a big factor. And I also want to lump in here, also in terms of your social connections, that we're finding more and more that, mental health, I guess maybe under the umbrella of mental health, positive mental health plays a big role in longevity. So, what do you do under that umbrella?
So meditation and stress relief. First, I don't I don't consciously practice meditation, but I do love to take walks in nature. And so I view that as basically my equivalent to meditation. I
Mhm.
walk in nature to clear my mind. Could be a short walk, could be a long one, but I always feel some benefit from it. Um, you're right that relationships are a huge part of longevity. We are social creatures after all. So I have great friends. I've got a great partner. She really lovely, and she's actually on my protocol too, and has
Great.
experienced great results as well. Very similar to my results. I've got a close relationship with my parents and my grandmother. Um, yeah, we're work colleagues. I've got great work colleagues. So I think it's very important that we surround ourselves with people that we love and respect, and that we that we maintain a very active social life with a
Yeah.
good balance between time alone to recharge and meditate, and then time spent socializing and bonding with people.
Yeah.
And also, I would add on there doing new experiences, things that require us to use our brain in new or unusual ways that it's not accustomed to. Something as simple as just taking a pottery class or a painting class, or could be going on a trip to a new country. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be just you're taking up a new activity, or I don't know, maybe using your left hand to write one day instead of your right hand.
No, I 100% agree. I think those are some great points. I also wanted to say, I think especially in this field, in the longevity field, it becomes maybe a field where we become more disconnected from individuals because the practices that we undertake sort of alienate us from other individuals because many people don't understand why we would perform all these tests or follow these regimented strict regimens of sleep and diet and exercise. So in that way, that alienates us from other individuals, and then also having commonalities with our peers. We don't have these commonalities with many individuals. So I think it's very important to stress that keeping social connections, even with individuals that don't necessarily understand or agree with our practices, is important. Or finding your own tribe. Maybe in the longevity field, which is growing thanks to many reasons. But yeah, it's
Definitely,
essential. I think we need to stress that it's essential to keep those social connections.
definitely agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
I for the new year, I do want to try and make more connections with other people in the longevity field. And when maintaining social connections with people that don't share our views on longevity, I find it's helpful to just maybe reveal a little bit of the total protocol, just like the outer layer of the onion. Maybe start with just, oh, here are the benefits of zone 2 cardio. I really enjoy zone 2 cardio. And then if they seem receptive, then maybe later you can hit them with the full supplementation protocol.
yeah. Maybe slow inches. Maybe that's the way. Maybe that's the key instead of
Ease them into it. Yeah.
yeah. That's a good point. So I want to touch on a couple more things before we wrap this up. You mentioned for additional therapies, I guess in that category, you do some red light therapy. What about hot cold therapies such as saunas or cold baths or hyperbaric oxygen chambers? Anything under the additional or extra therapies that you currently do?
Yeah. So I do own a red light panel. It's not quite full body, but it covers all of my torso. And I don't use it super regularly, but I do use it from time to time in the morning to help me wake up. I find that it is stimulating and it helps give a little energy boost. And I think it has some benefits to setting the circadian rhythm as well. I think using it in the morning when you first wake up helps simulate being out in the sun. So you're training your circadian rhythm to become alert in the morning and then become sleepy at night. I've never done hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It does seem interesting, though. I've read a little bit about it. And then I do take cold showers from time to time. In the morning, a cold shower really feels great. I definitely enjoy that. I do now. I didn't at the beginning. And then saunas, I use an infrared sauna every now and then, maybe like every month or two. If I had space for it, I would have one in my home. I think that would be really incredible to have.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe someday I'll get an infrared sauna of my own.
Yeah.
I find it really relaxing. It's really, actually, going back to meditation, I think it could be really great to just meditate inside the infrared sauna. That's what I do when I use it.
Yeah, likewise. I'm lucky enough to have one in my house, and that's like two birds with one stone. You get to get the benefits of infrared, and you also get to relax and meditate in there. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Exactly. 2 for 1.
Yeah. So do you have like a cost estimate of your protocol, your longevity protocol? Do you know how much you roughly spend a month or per year?
Yeah. So the phase 1 protocol, which is the one that I just described, that I think comes out for one person to a bit under $100 a month, maybe 80 to a little bit under 100 a month for the supplements. And then fasting, of course, saves you money. For the diet, there's all sorts of hacks to get healthy food for cheap. So I'll leave that to other people that specialize in that. But I would add that sardines are very cheap, and they're always wild. So it's a great way to get cheap, wild, high omega-3 seafood.
Mm-hmm.
But
gym membership, I guess.
Oh, gym membership, it costs me $40 a month. So if
and then the red light therapy, I guess, device, right? A few things.
Yeah, the red light therapy device was a bit under $1,000, a one-time cost, and it has a good lifespan. So I think
fairly inexpensive and manageable for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think when you look at how much money you could save in the long run from avoiding health problems and maintaining a high quality of life, I think $40 a month for a gym membership and then maybe about $80 to $90 for the supplements is really a high return for your investment. I know I feel great. I've never felt as good, and if my lab results continue as good as they are, hopefully I'll have many decades of good health, living a happy and active and fulfilling lifestyle.
Right. I guess that's the last thing though is the cost of the testing, right? And
yes, that's the most expensive part, I think. And actually that's part of the reason why I created my Instagram profile to publish my results, was because I know there's a lot of people out there that would like to do protocols like this, but they don't have the financial means to do this testing, because this testing, the true diagnostic test alone is a bit under $500. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to do before and after testing, that's a round trip cost of almost $1,000. And then there's the cost of the metabolomic test, SciFox test. So my hope is that by publishing my testing results, other people can see what sort of results are attainable, and then maybe they can implement healthy changes to their lifestyle. Just having faith that the benefits are happening, even if they can't afford the testing.
Right. Learn from others, exactly. Last two tests. So what is your goal in the next year in terms of your protocol, your longevity, your testing results?
So I'll be conducting another mid-year test and then end-of-year test. And then I'm currently on phase 2 of my protocol. So I did add some extra supplements So we'll see if phase 2 results in any added benefit over phase 1.
Does that include getting your number one spot back at the Rejuvenation Olympics? Or
If I can get the number 1 spot back, that'd be nice. It's it's not the end of the world if I stay number 2. Hopefully, I don't drop to number 3. I see Bryan Johnson is catching up to me. I think he's number 3 right now. Let's see.
he's got a lot of resources behind him, but I think you have the age advantage, the chronological age advantage.
Yes, I may have a genetic advantage too. Who knows?
Right.
My grandma is in her 90s and in great health, so I did hopefully inherit something from her. Yeah, Bryan Johnson is almost tied with me now. My current average pace is 0.617. His average pace is 0.62. So he's inching up on me. Of course, he's getting transfusions of young plasma and doing gene therapies. I'm not doing anything like that yet.
All right. Maybe down the road, right?
Maybe, yeah. I'll never say never.
Yeah, exactly. So touch on the gene thing. Actually, maybe we can leave it for another time, but I wanted to see if you had ever had any your genome sequenced or anything in that sorts.
I have, yeah. So I used a company called Self Decode
Yeah.
to do a deep dive onto my genetic predispositions, and it was interesting. So there's nothing too concerning. I didn't have any genetic diseases. I did have a few genetic predispositions, but nothing too strong. And then I did have a couple of gene variants that are associated with longevity.
Okay.
So it does seem that I inherited something beneficial from somewhere.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's congrats. Good to hear. I mean, that's good. Yeah, especially you can tell that right with your family history that you had a chance of inheriting some of that if you have older relatives, which you seem to have, right? Okay, last question, 2 parts. Who do you follow in the longevity field? Who have you learned a lot from? And if you're interested in other people following you, where can they find you?
So I enjoy Rhonda Patrick. I like following her and watching her videos. I also like Michael Lustgarten. I think his channel's called Conquer Aging or Die Trying. I'm a big fan of that name. And then I read a bit of Peter Attia and but mainly I don't really follow health influencers too closely. I like to go to longevity.org, which is a forum for longevity enthusiasts. It's like the word longevity, but with a C instead of a V, like a city, longevity.org. And there's a really helpful feature they have where they aggregate latest scientific research on aging. And so I just skim that every couple of days just to see if any interesting new papers have come out.
Okay. It's a great resource for people listening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. Good way to stay up to date. But I'd say of all the influencers and public profiles, I'm a big fan of Michael Lustgarten and his very quant-heavy approach to his protocol and lifestyle and the way he meticulously tracks everything. It's definitely something I could aspire to do someday. I'm not as disciplined as him right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think you set the bar high, but I think that's where the bar should be. And it entails a lot for the average individual these days. But I think that's the goal, is to be able to have as much data on yourself as you can, and then slowly implement changes and then see what's moving the needle in the right direction. I actually had him on the channel a couple of weeks ago, so I'll be publishing an interview with him soon as well. Okay, and if you're interested in people following you, where can they find you best?
Oh yeah, so I guess you can find me on Instagram at Daniel Lewis, the number 4, and then life. And then also I'm on Reddit under the same username at Daniel Lewis for life. And I publish my full protocol with all my testing results on Reddit. And then I'm in the process of uploading screenshots of my testing results onto Instagram. And then I have my full protocol on Instagram as well.
Fantastic. Well, Daniel, I really appreciate you doing this. I wish you the best, especially in terms of lowering your biological age, and hope you can get that first place back on the Rejuvenation Olympics. And hopefully we can do this again down the road once you made some changes to your protocol that you've seen and move the needle in terms of your biological age.
Definitely. Thanks a lot for having me. It was great to be on and to talk, and I look forward to coming back, hopefully with good results and further improvements. And
Awesome.
hopefully coming back as number 1 and not as number 3.
Exactly. Need to have those goals in life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Take care, Daniel, and we'll chat soon.
Great. Thanks a lot, Lucas.
Cheers.
Bye.